So this week we're going to talk about chapter 4, and the chapter is Adopt a Balanced Prospecting Methodology. And we kind of talked about that a little bit last week, where you want to make sure that you're reaching out to people in a different way. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, and that's going to be a big theme about today. So, there isn't a one-size-fits-all way to prospect. And, we came across this tool from a program that we're involved with where they talked about that there are 4 different types of agents, like an agent archetype. And each one of those, based on their natural personality and how they're willing to do their work and what's going to make the most sense for those individuals, they fall into different brackets. Prospecting that is grinding out the phones is not for everybody. And, some people are networkers. Put me in a room full of 100 people and I can convert 3 of them in that moment because of my personality, and I'm willing to go out and talk to those people, where the prospector on the phone might not feel comfortable in a large group like that. They feel better with their headset on and just cranking out the phones. Then there's the marketer. And the marketer, they're all about blasting out postcards and doing a lot on social media and just trying to get in front of as many people, even if it means it's not a direct face-to-face out of the gate. And then you've got your converters. And those converters are still similar to the prospectors, but those individuals are finding their lead sources in a different way, and they're trying to just convert those people from a cold or a warm basis, because the prospector and the converter are very similar. So don't put all your eggs in one basket, but you need to understand, how is the best way for you to generate your own business. So online leads are a big one here. In a way, as an industry, we've become quite spoiled because you can spend a bunch of money and get a bunch of online leads. You can join a team and get a bunch of online leads where you're sitting on the phone nonstop trying to reach out to these individuals, calling them as many times as you can. A couple of years ago, Zillow actually did a study where if somebody registers on Zillow and you receive that lead, if you don't reach them in the first 2.5 minutes, you have to follow up with them 21 times. And by that 21st time, your likelihood of actually converting them to the sale goes up in a ridiculous way. And I know that in our experience, a lot of agents, they give up after 5 calls or 5 touches period, where it's a phone call or a text message or an email. And it's just not enough. I've heard my agents talk to people and that when they're grinding and they keep calling and keep calling and keep calling and texting and emailing, and they finally get the person on the phone, and the person said, I'm sorry I didn't get back to you right away. I've had some crazy things going on, but I'm ready. The agent they see is the agent they use. That's common sense. If you go to a store, you walk in, and everybody ignores you in the store, and you have a question, but everybody ignores you in the store, which person do you go to? The one that's the closest. Now, when you walk in and there's a greeter and they're telling you about, this is like at a clothing store or something where there's not a lot of people on the sales floor. We're not talking about the Walmart greeter here. But if you go in and somebody greets you, they tell you about what's on sale, maybe they tell you about a new product that comes in. You're looking around the store, you weren't quite ready for help, and you see a couple people. The person that you've already engaged with is likely the person that you're going to go back to and ask a question, because they've already provided that value. So how do we do that in our industry? And when you have that balanced prospecting methodology, you need to make sure that you understand these types of leads that come in, I need to talk to them like this. These types of leads that come in, I need to talk to them like this. These types of leads that come in, I need to talk to them like this. And have an idea of what those different time frames are typically associated with them. New agents think if you give me a huge database full of leads, I can get started really quickly. The problem with an online lead is, in most cases, they're online first because 90% of home buyers start online. And they start by tinkering around. They might look at a bunch of houses in our surprise area and they go, okay, cool, this is maybe the area I want to be in. But then they get curious and they start looking at houses in Scottsdale, which are way out of their price range, just because it's cool to look at those houses. So when you take that into consideration, these people might only be sort of serious, or because they're just starting their process, these people could be 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years out. And that's a long-term investment in that individual, which is great because you always want a full pipeline. But if you're only relying to start your business on the people that might not purchase a house for 6 months, those 6 months are going to be really freaking hard, really hard. So diversify. Do some open houses. Those are leads that are coming in. It's a type of prospecting because you're getting in front of people. Go to local events, talk to people, get out there, door knock if you feel comfortable with it. Get a list from the title company, do some circle dialing, just start cold calling people. But you have to find different proactive ways to fill your pipeline. Your pipeline is the most important thing in your business, hands down. Because without your pipeline, you're not gonna make any money. And I know that's not what you're looking for. So that's the general philosophy around prospecting and the methodology that you have to choose for it. Diversify. Chapter 5 should be next week. We're actually going to skip that, go back to the beginning of this month, and or the beginning of last month rather, and we did an entire week on it. And this is something that we discuss on a very regular basis within our company, but because I want to move through the book and keep going so that we're not covering something we just covered, we're going to skip that chapter. But that chapter is probably, I don't want to say the most important, but the most beneficial, especially if you're feeling like you're in a funk with your prospecting, because a lot of it has to do with the brush-offs and how to handle some of that information and, really understanding how you control the narrative and you can control the conversation if you're prepared with the correct type of response to those challenges. So we're going to start with chapter 6 next week. It'll be a good one. We're going to start talking about time management and time blocking and understanding how to best utilize your time so that you're maximizing on your potential with your business. So as always, throw some comments below. I'd love to start a conversation, and I'll see you guys next week.